Thank you everyone for watching our video today. This is a re-recording of a webinar that Will and I hosted this past week. We are your hosts, Will Chin and Rishan Mohideen. Will is a former event director for STP and I am the current event manager for STP. For this video and for the webinar, we had special help from Amy, Joss, and Wendy here at Cascade. Thank you to the three of them for being invaluable to our team. So before we get started into the main bulk of this presentation, we are going to start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we sit on and occupy today as the traditional home of the Duwamish, Tulalip, Muckleshoot, Suquamish, Coastal Salish, Nisqually, Steilacoom, Chehalis, Cowlitz, Grand Ronde, Siletz, and Multnomah tribal nations. Without them, we would not have access to this environment. We take the opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land who are still here. So what to expect from this video? We're going to answer as many questions as we can. As this is a pre-recorded video, we won't be doing question and answers in the traditional Zoom webinar feature, but we will be answering some of the questions that we received through email, through signups, and through our previous webinar. Who is Cascade Bicycling Club? Cascade Bicycling Club is the nation's largest statewide bicycling nonprofit. We serve bike riders of all ages, races, genders, income levels, and abilities throughout the state of Washington. We teach the joys of bicycling and advocate for safe places to ride and produce world-class events and rides. Our signature programs include Seattle to Portland Bicycle Classic, free group rides, the Pedaling Relief Project, Your Street, Your Say, Let's Go, and the Major Taylor Project. But specifically, your registration money goes to a lot of different things we need to put on a safe and welcoming ride for all bicyclists. This includes food, trucks, transport, everything, permits for the street, signage along course, volunteers, porta potties, police officers to help facilitate traffic, amongst all different things that we need to put on a safe ride. The rest of the money helps fund Cascade's projects that affect the larger community, as well as keeping all of our group rides free. So today we're going to cover the course. We're going to tell you what to expect on the ride. And we're going to explain to you a lot of the resources that you have available to you. In a few weeks, we'll have a follow-up STP 201, which goes more in depth into training, nutrition, gear, and some specific places to ride. And with that, we'll hand it over to Will. Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Rishan. Going to share a screen here. And hopefully we are seeing the beginning of the show, which is our welcome screen and shows Rishan and my name down below. And a sun coming up over the horizon there. And this is typically my first slide because it is July 16th, and you're hopefully there at the start line there when that sun is starting to come up, because one-day riders begin leaving at 5 o'clock, but many of you two-day riders will be arriving in the dark as well. And I've been involved with this ride since my first ride, 1986, where, again, I did see that sun come up, but then I've also been there as a volunteer as well. I've ridden the ride on many types of bikes, 700C, 26-inch wheel, 20-inch wheel, tandem bike, as I mentioned, kind of a mountain bike with at least a slick. So I'm coming from a point of view where a lot of you who are attending this are not sure what type of bike. This is the first time I've ridden this. Can I do this? So that's why I've been kind of involved with this for the years that have gone by in doing these classes. And so we'll anticipate some of your questions. This has really evolved over the years. So hopefully the slides themselves over the next hour will take you from the start line to the finish line with some helpful hints and hopefully demystify this whole thing that is STP for you. Here we go. Most importantly, register for the ride. Hold your spot as soon as possible, because the event does sell out. There are add-ons such as, the parking lot, return transportation, your midpoint lodging that you'll be thinking about later. But you can add that on to your registration later. But the most important part right now is register, because it really commits you to the ride, commits you to training. Otherwise, it's going to be one of these things you just kind of keep thinking about. And I tell you, once you get through this weekend, the ride itself, it will be one of the most memorable things that you've done. Your rider numbers are assigned after you register, sometime in June is what I gather from the dashboard. And your packet will be mailed to you if you register before June 10th. And if you register after that, your packet is available at the start line itself. So there's no in-person packet pickup at Magnuson if you're a returning rider and used to that. It's either mailed or at the start line this year.
And real quick, Will, that date is actually July 10th. Register before July 10th and you'll have your packet mailed to you all for free.
That's pretty good, because that's just a 7-day gap before the start line itself. If you go to the Cascade website, you'll find this registration form itself. So a lot of the information that I am going to refer to is available on the cascade.org website. And in fact, you'll want to keep going there because it'll have the most current information as well. So we won't walk you through the registration process, but it's definitely there. But what do you get when you do register? Well, not only are you supporting Cascade and all its the great things that it does in the cycling community itself, but for STP, we're going to be dropping money along the route itself. So a lot of our partner organizations, charity organizations, will also benefit from this. But what do you get from it? Well, your rider packet that will be mailed to you. So you see right here, you get your rider bib, which is probably the most important thing. If you haven't ridden a cycling event before, but are familiar with like running events, you're not pinning this number on your front, you're pinning it on your lower back, because that way it's not flapping as you ride itself. There you go. And you have a matching sticker right here that goes on your helmet, and a cardboard-ish, cardstock, let's just say, rectangular number that goes on the front of your bike attached with twist ties. So whereas this is on your back, these two are on the front where the volunteers can see it. Also note here, there's some tear-off luggage tags here, 2 pieces of luggage that you can bring with you. More information about luggage later. This is a past year's event, so what you don't see here are 2 additional tear-off tags that will get you a food item and your souvenir at the finish line. So that's also attached to this number here. The route map these days is kind of a fold-out map, and this is just one section of it. This is Seattle down to the Tacoma JBLM area, and so there'll be further sections that are available, and you can see it's a cue sheet that takes you turn by turn by turn all the way down the route, and this will be actually posted on the website when it is ready, and you can preview the route at that point. To get an idea, and you can probably go train on some of those areas itself. Making sure I cover what we want.
You'll notice that on that route map that Will is showing you, on the left, you have the total distance, and then the second column is the distance since the last leg. So those will not necessarily match up to your GPS or however you are tracking your ride, but they will give you a very accurate, once you're at this point, how far it is to the next point, because it does not include the distance as you're going in and out of food stops and things like that.
Rishan, will there be a GPS turn by turn as well for this?
Well, right now we have the 2019 map up on our website through Ride with GPS. You can download that, you can take it over to Strava, you can use it however you would like. The course hasn't been put out, the digital file for the 2022 route yet, because we are still finalizing. It's 95% finalized, but there is always construction that happens in the summer that we are trying to make sure we work around. So you can trust that map online for, especially through all stops and things like that. But we will post once we have the official one for 2022 a few weeks before the race online. Ride online.
Yeah, good. Really good point there. Rishan mentioned it is a ride and not a race because this is 206 to 204 mile recreational event. Let's just call it that. If it's a race, you're racing against your own time. You're not racing against anybody else. And another point of this presentation is make the ride your own, because I think 99% of you are really just making it a fun weekend and trying to get down to Portland itself. We can talk a little bit more about pace and all that later as well. So this is the start line map that is available on the website itself. What I do want to indicate, first of all, the fact that it is the UW Montlake parking lot, the main student lot, and if you're familiar with it in some way, there's Husky Stadium right there, and we're using this lot. But to get to the start line itself, we prefer that you come across Northeast 45th or the opposite direction, and not across Montlake, because then you'll be driving against the riding traffic itself. So come across here and into the start line parking lot, and there's one main entrance into it at that point. So one of the things to consider is that it gets very congested, particularly around 6 o'clock. So the best times is to get there before 6 o'clock itself. I mentioned the start line opens at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock to 5:30 is the window of time that the one-day riders get out, and then from 5:30 to 7:30, the two-day riders get out, and you have this differentiation because it's safer that way, of course. But then also, again, it gets more congested, and when you arrive at the start line and when you leave at the start line will dictate the type of ride you have. So if you are a slower rider and you want to be part of the festivities and all, you want to leave on the early part, because then you're kind of with the ride itself, and the ride kind of goes along with you. And if you are maybe a solo rider and don't want as much interaction with others, you kind of leave more towards 7 o'clock or later, because then a lot of the ride has gone in front of you. But also note that if you are a slower rider and you're leaving towards 7:30, towards the end of the services, you might be getting to some of the stops when their services are starting to wrap up as well. So this is where you want to train over the next few months, get an idea of your pace, and then do your math, do your calculations. And there's all kinds of options for you. Start early, leave later, depending on how much energy you want when you get to the food stops. If you want to be with a lot of people, then you want to make sure you're timing it such that you're getting there at the beginning or the middle of some of those food stops. And then towards the end, if you kind of want less of a dynamic activity there. Also at the start line, as you can see right here, there's packet pickup available, as we had mentioned earlier. There's going to be a bike mechanic available, but you'll want to get your bike looked at early. I mean, you've got months now in advance. If you don't want to do, if you aren't going to get your bike tuned up professionally, learn how to do it yourself. A lot of the bike shops, in fact, Cascade itself teaches you how to do bike work on your own bikes.
I'll actually just real quick interject, since you gave us that plug, Will. We are starting our adult education series, I believe in just a couple weeks. It's up live that you can sign up for it now. And that'll teach you basic maintenance on bikes, how to ride. There's a lot of different classes that you can check out. So Cascade's Adult Education. Take a look if you want to learn how to work on your own bike.
Absolutely. And what's even more important about that is on STP, it's kind of a cheater way of doing 200 miles, because you're going to have bike mechanics every 10 to 12 miles. When you're out training on your own over the next few months, you're going to want to know how to put that chain back up and how to quiet that squeak that's happening on your bike itself. At the start line will also be porta potties, of course, and a water contraption. And the same thing about the bike mechanics. You know, you may want to come down to the start line with your water bottles full in case there's any long lines, or in case there's any thing that isn't quite working right. You don't want to leave to chance leaving the start line without your water or the hydration choice of yours. It's easy to find friends at the parking lot as well, because the light posts there have have numbers on them, so that people can find their cars, of course, if you're a student. But that way, you as a rider will be able to tell your friends, I'm at a certain post, or you know, or meet me at the mechanics. Also at the start line itself will be the luggage trucks, most importantly to some of you probably. Bring your luggage to the truck that has the destination on the back end that you are going to. When you register for the ride itself, you have not registered for an overnight location. So we're going to talk about that a little bit further on, but know that, again, overnight stops from Centralia down to Winlock or further, or even, you know, Lexington, Longview, are available through STP partners, and those will be indicated again on the back of these trucks, such as this signage here. If you're a one-day rider, you're going to look for the truck that says Portland, and you're throwing your luggage onto that truck. And again, maximum of 2 bags, about 20 pounds each. So we're talking about like a duffel bag or travel bag with straps that you can carry on your back while you're riding. This is important, particularly for those who are not staying at maybe one of the campsites, but are staying at a hotel, but your baggage is getting dropped at the designated location and you have to get your bag to the hotel. So, you know, you want to do it in the safest way possible. And so there are certain bags that make more sense for that. Attach those tear-off luggage tags that we talked about earlier. And some of the secondary tags, some of the locations that you stay at might have a secondary tag, and you'll know that when you register with them. So I just kind of mentioned that here, but for most of you, don't worry about that. Your baggage drop off.
The easiest way that you can have your bags lost is if you put it on the wrong truck. So you don't necessarily know where you're headed to which midpoint you are going to right now, but once it comes to ride day, make sure you get it on the right.
Right. If you get there and your bag's not there, it means you stuck it on the wrong truck. I've thrown information up from a past year here, so you'll probably want to check the website for the most current information as far as the baggage drop. But on Friday, you can also drop baggage off on Friday evening. $5 cash per item. That includes a bike is one item if you want to drop it there, so that the next morning you can just get there and not have to worry about bringing things there. Saturday, there's no charge. You just put your bike, excuse me, the bike's going with you, but your luggage is just going to go onto the trucks. As you look around yourself at the start line, you're going to see all kinds of bikes, all kinds of people out there. Someone had previously asked, has a fixie done the ride? I'm sure a fixie has done the ride, but also I'm just saying that the ultimate fixie is a unicycle, and they've been out there. Longboards have been out there. Inline skaters have been out there. It's a party. It's a festive event. But again, if you're not looking for a party, don't let that throw you either, because you can enjoy the ride on your own. Youngest riders tend to be solo riders tend to be about 10 or 12 years old. They're younger ones, definitely on tandems or trailer bikes, as you see here. You're going to see quads, triples, and other things out there. But you know, bottom line is to have fun out there. There used to be a lot of helmets with regalia on it. So if you want to have fun, want to dress up for it, know that you're not going to be the only one out there. So definitely make this an event that you'll remember. So again, camaraderie and anticipation. Everyone's gathering up at the start line here. But when do you actually get to the start line within that window? Does your number indicate when you start? It does not. You pretty much join this group when you're ready to. So we talked about different experiences you'll get when you start early, and that's, you know, 5:30 to 7:30 period or later, you gather with your friends, and there will be an announcer right about here who's going to say, next wave leaves in 10 minutes. And this group starts gathering right here, and they'll do a countdown. And when it gets down to 3, 2, 1, a lot of hollering and hooping here, and off they go. And this line will come back up here, and then the next wave will be gathering in the next 10 minutes, and people just roll up here. So that's how it goes. You just, whenever you're ready to go, you're going to just roll up with your friends there. And here we head out past the stadium itself and down towards the University Bridge, and we're going to head out to eventually to the Arboretum area. This slide I kind of want to show here again. Once we head out onto the roads, we are vehicles on the roads, and we are adhering to all rules of the road here. So here we are. We take a lane, but we're leaving this lane open here for other vehicles. And actually, at the end of this bridge here, you're going to be taking a left, so you can see everyone's kind of following each other here, and then we will eventually make it over, start turning into the other lane. But in all cases, being aware of traffic. And only when an officer is waving you through a stop sign will you go through that stop sign without stopping. But otherwise, you're making a stop, complete stop, stoplight, you're making a complete stop. Hopefully, as you see these officers on the road, you'll say good morning or hello to them, and they'll have a great day as well. The thing about that, I should indicate, is they'll be out there in various locations, but we will not have cones, or we will not have lanes that are designated specifically for STP riders itself. There'll be locations such as we near food stops where there are cones to get people into the stop without interfering with traffic. But otherwise, we are not necessarily riding on separated lanes. There is a multi-use trail between Yelm and Tenino that we'll be using, but otherwise we're out on public roads. How do you know where you're going when you're out there? You're going to be seeing these signs painted, as you can see, on the pavement, on the shoulder. They are directional arrows, but they're also called Dan Henry arrows. If you hear that, you'll know what they are. This is what it looks life size. So this indicates here that you'll be turning left at an upcoming intersection. This one, you'll be turning right. This person's actually stopped at a stop sign. And you can see we can modify it here if we're making a slight bend. The thing to know is that this means you're going to continue straight, but you're not going to see these at all intersections going straight. So if you don't see it, you're just going to go straight. More than likely, you'll see this painted on the other side of a turn so that it indicates that, yes, you made the correct turn and you're still on the route itself. Now that you've actually seen what this looks like and you've never seen them before, you'll notice them painted when you're out training. And whereas before you thought maybe they were just survey markers, these are actually directional arrows for other rides that are out there. And if you're looking for a training ride and you know that there's something out there like the Tacoma Daffodil ride, you can actually go there after those rides and train on those routes by following their Dan Henry arrows as well.
Like Will mentioned before, don't forget that you will have a route map with the route directions on that map that you can easily, it folds up into a little pamphlet, you can easily tuck in your back pocket or on your bike just in case. Great.
And here we are heading down Lake Washington Boulevard with Lake Washington off to the left here. Here's where we talk about riding in group dynamics as well. In here, you can see that, in this particular case, we're riding 6 abreast here. And I understand that, early in the morning, there's not a whole lot of car traffic going on here, and people are just kind of, enjoying their pace here. But just know further down the route, as the traffic increases, that we are to ride no more than 2 abreast legally in single file if we're impeding traffic. And in the cases like this, as these guys are passing, hopefully they're calling out that they are passing. And if you've ridden on trails before, people are saying on your left. People might say passing. Anything to indicate that they're there works. But beyond that, if you have not ridden in a group ride, there's also other hazards that are being called out, such as hole, gravel, and that's usually in the front, and that gets passed along verbally back towards the back. And if a car is coming up from the back, people in the back will notice and say car back, or even car passing when they're actually passing, and that gets passed up by everyone moving forward. So if you have not experienced this before, it's easy to learn this by just going out over the next couple months on a group ride. And that doesn't mean you have to pay for an event ride, because Cascade Bike Club has daily rides, and a lot of them on weekends, by the way. And if you just go to the Cascade website, click on daily rides, you will see a huge menu of rides, different paces, from 10 miles per hour to 20, different locations for start lines, different distances. And do not fear going out to these rides. I went out on one just a couple of weeks ago just to see how it was organized this year with COVID, and it's very safe to ride with the group. And there's enough volunteer leaders that actually, if the pace kind of splits up, there's leaders who can take care of the different riders. So there's always a sweep rider, so you're not going to get lost. And if you get to a point where you say, well, I want to ride, but I don't want to hinder anyone, also know that you can just always tell a ride leader that, hey, I'm done with this ride, and carry on, and I'll find my way. So just get out there, and you will actually enjoy riding with other people, and you'll learn these group dynamics that will just become common. And then when you ride on STP, nothing will be new to you on that particular day.
And for our group rides that Cascade puts on, we have tons that are free, that are open to many different bike types or speeds, but we also have some that are specific for women and non-binary folk. So if you are looking for rides that is a little bit more inclusive, or specifically with people that you identify with, we probably have rides that are open and inclusive for you as well.
Great. And the other part about group dynamics, if you're familiar with your hand signals, of course, left and right, and slowing and stopping. When you're riding in a group, you are often calling it out as well, just because if the group is slowing or stopping, the person in the back will hear it before they see any hand signals out there, and that gets passed along as well. So again, that's something that you can learn ahead of STP. And here we are heading out of Seward Park area. So what kind of roads are you going to be on? Well, you're going to be on neighborhood roads like this. You're going to end up on Rainier Avenue after this section here. So you're going to be on arterials. And you're also going to be on some state highways along the route itself with nice shoulders. So, a variety, but in all cases, this is a very, it's a route that we have used over and over and over with some changes, and the communities are aware of us coming through, and it's safe from that standpoint, in case you're curious itself. And again, we had mentioned on the website itself, we'll have information about the route. This is the 2019 one, which was the last time we actually did it on the road. And if you expand on this, if you click on the various icons here, you'll see the various services that are available. One thing to note down here, there is an elevation chart, and do not let this scare you. Okay, this is obviously to scale and condensed over 206 miles. So this here is the famous or infamous Puyallup uphill, which is worth talking about, but it doesn't look like this, obviously.
It is not a wall, it is a hill.
Okay, so when we get to food stops, again on the website, it'll show free food stops at mile 20, 54, at Kaiser, in Kent and Spanaway for day one. The one-day riders will continue to get free food at Chehalis, Lexington, and St. Helens. But for the two-day riders, after this Spanaway stop, they'll get food the next day at Longview and St. Helens. And in between some of these stops, you'll see here about every 10 to 12 miles between these stops here will be official mini stops. Seward Park, Puyallup, JBLM, etc. down here. And the difference here is this is free food that's provided by Cascade Bike Club STP and staffed by the community volunteers here. The official mini stops are put on by charitable organizations, from churches to Lions, Kiwanis, Boy Scouts, etc. Different groups in schools putting these on. And food is available for a cost there. It's usually just some supplemental items, hydration as well, and mechanics will be available there. But again, these are your main food stops here. The first real food, as we mentioned, is a mile 20 at the Kaiser Permanente offices. This is not it. This is years back, but it was the best picture that represents what it could look like there. Food under the canopies here and multiple lines, so it's not like one long queue going on, and water contraption here. But the thing to note here is what you don't see is you don't see the bikes, because typically at these locations, mini stops or food stops, the bikes will be dropped off at kind of as you enter, so that you are not fighting with the bikes and handlebars and stepping in wheels as you go through the food line. Security, well, if you're concerned about your $8,000 bike, you're probably going to treat it differently. But for the most part, people will go ahead and make use of the stands and put their bikes up. You've got 7,999 other riders who have bikes themselves, and everyone's going to be pretty courteous about that.
Well, I'm going to answer a couple questions that I know we received before at about this time about food stops. One, if you have dietary restrictions, specifically if you're gluten-free, if you're dairy-free, or if you're vegan, we have taken that into consideration, and every stop will have an option for you. So don't be afraid of, oh, there's not going to be something I can eat. And then as Will has moved on to this next slide, you can see it's a little less crowded than the previous picture of the stops. The defining factor of how long it'll take you to get through a food stop is how long you want to spend at that food stop. There's not going to be lines that'll hold you up forever and ever at either the food, the water, or the porta potties. So don't worry about that. And then at every major stop, we're going to have some sort of EMS or medical professional. At every mini stop, there is first aid kits, and every stop has the ability to respond to any things. But I know Will will be speaking more on safety as we go on. So back to you, Will.
Yeah, this is the actual Kaiser Permanente stop you see here, and we've got fruit available and then packaged items. So what a lot of people tend to do is eat the fruit, the sticky stuff while they're there, so they can wash their hands, and then any of the packaged stuff they can stick in their pockets and ride on. You're not making a meal at these locations. It's fueling up as you go, and the food is designed to do that. So you're going to have some high carbs and high energy type of foods to help you along the way. You can see in this particular case, when there is plenty of room, people do kind of bring their bikes through, and these guys are probably just going to grab food and head on out as well. We mentioned porta potties. If you're not using the porta potties, then you're not drinking enough. So how much should you be drinking? Well, a very easy rule of thumb, people will say a water bottle every hour. But with that, know that there's different size water bottles and there's different types of people. So when you're out training over the next few months, get to know what your intake level is. And then when you're out, having way too much fun in the STP and you're forgetting to drink, just take a break and say, I haven't drank from my water bottle for a while, so I'm going to, catch up on that. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, keep going, Will.
I was going to say, I know I can't down a whole one of those 20-ounce water bottles in 1 hour myself, but I know that, and I'm pacing my hydration for myself. Go
The
ahead.
two other things to think of with that is, remember right now, if you're riding, it's a little cooler. This ride that we're all doing together is going to be in July, where it's a little warmer, so your water needs might change. And also, in that thought process, you probably shouldn't be drinking your water only when you stop riding at each stop. You ideally want to be sipping or drinking your water while you're riding continuously, so that your body can reabsorb a little better.
And there's all kinds of ways to carry some of that hydration. So like Rishan is talking about is one of the ways that some people attempt is having a hydration pack, which is a backpack, that you carry on your back and have a little tube that you can sip from. And what I know has happened in the past, people try to transition to that, maybe in the last month before the ride, and they don't quite get used to it, or they just don't like something on their back itself. So this is something, again, if you want to try something different, try it months ahead of time and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, find other ways to carry additional water bottles on your bike. Because if you use a hydration replenish, such as Noon or Gatorade or any of those other ones, they get kind of sticky, and so you want a second water bottle at least that's just clear water. So you don't want just a hydration replenishment drink in your water bottle by itself. And with that also, if you train with a particular hydration replenishment drink and it works for you, that's the one you want to take with you on the ride itself. Either bring the powder or tablet form, or know that as you go down the route, you have any of these mini mart gas stations here that you can buy some as well. But if you have some that are specialty that work for you, then know that you're not necessarily going to find it along the route. You'll need to carry it with you. This is a Puyallup mini stop here. Where people stop along the grass here, and just off to the right is kind of the pavilion where the Lions Club are, or Kiwanis, I forget which one, but they are providing you some donuts and other things that you can purchase, and that's a reason to bring cash to support some of those organizations or to supplement your food as you ride along here. And as you leave Puyallup, you will be approaching what is very well known as the Puyallup Hill itself. This is the beginning of the climb, and this is the top of the climb. In between here, you can't see, but there's a couple of turns. It's the kind of false summit that you think you're arriving to, and when you get up there, it's just another turn there. But what is the terrain of STP? So over 204 miles is relatively flat. Considering, again, compared to other rides across the nation. I think Rishan mentioned earlier on that is nationally renowned as a great double century. It's got rolling rural roads along the way, and some climbs of significance. And we are probably going to talk a little bit more about the various ones in our STP 201 class itself. But just know that what people refer to Puyallup Hill, Napa Vine Hill, the Vader Climb, Lewis and Clark Bridge, which is probably the next highest climb, and then St. John's Bridge climb, which is towards the finish line. The point here being train for hills, because they are out there. Slow and steady works for most people, and you can see people actually walking their bikes up here. I say that's fine, because they're going to enjoy the rest of their weekend without killing themselves. But hopefully you will train so that perhaps you're not going to have to walk the hills on STP. So while you're out training over the next few months, you may need to walk, and then eventually, you're going to slowly work your way further and further up that hill. You might run into one of those days where it just doesn't work for you. Don't let that bother you. Just know that you keep going back out there, and it'll work better and better. And as far as training routes, there are plenty of training routes that are available online, Strava and GPS your ride. In fact, I noticed that the Cascade daily rides use the GPS your ride. So you can find training routes, but if you want to simply Google the Lake Washington Loop, you'll find the cue sheet for that. And the Juanita Drive Hill that takes you from Juanita Drive to Finn Hill at the top is one that I would say mimics this Puyallup Hill fairly well, in the sense that it's wide and it's a constant grade. By the way, this is a 7% grade at the steepest, and it's 1.25 miles. So again, similar to what the Juanita Hill is, in my opinion.
And like Will said, take a look at Ride with GPS. There's lots of different routes out there. But along those lines, when you're riding your bike, acquaint yourself with all your gears. Make sure you're comfortable getting all the way to the smallest. If you really are adventurous, you're on the other side of the hill going all the way to your biggest. But make sure you feel comfortable using all your gears, because on these hills, you will use all of them.
Right. And I think I said we'll talk a little bit more about this in 201, but I'll just go ahead and throw one thing in there, is if you are training for this on a spin cycle or stationary bike, know that you have to get out there and learn how to rock that frame back and forth to climb some of these hills, learn how to stand and then sit back down without losing your momentum. That's just important that you actually get out there and live ride. Yeah. Let's see. We are still climbing the hill here. This photo I'm just throwing in there. Communication. This person is saying they're going to fill this gap here. You're usually just kind of pointing out and communicating with people behind you. We talked about the Dan Henry arrows after you make a turn. That's a confirmation. And also from a safety standpoint here, it's kind of hard to see because it's condensed here, but people are leaving space and they're leaving the left-hand lane open for car traffic itself. When you get to the top of this hill, there's a traffic light, and everyone starts turning down here, and they're saying, phew, and they're stopping. And in many cases, people start stopping right on the fog line here, forcing their fellow riders out here. So this is just a simple thing to know on STP and even on training rides. When you stop in a clear area away from the shoulder, away from the riding area here. You just need to go up, maybe 100 yards, and there's going to be a place that you can pull over here. Just be courteous. If you get a phone call, or if your buddy, has stopped and you want to circle back, make sure that you pull off before turning back.
So follow the young lady's example, not necessarily the riders behind her.
Exactly. This is Spanaway. Food stop here, as we mentioned earlier, some cut up fruit. Again, the sticky stuff where you want to wash your hands, maybe use the Porta Potties, and then you want to grab some of the packaged stuff, cookies or other, and you can take with you on the ride itself. Yeah, you can. You don't even need to stop just at food stops nor mini stops. You can just stop on a hill along the way and just kind of eat some of these snacks and enjoy watching the ride go by you. Proper STP buffet etiquette is to take only what you will eventually eat. Obviously, we don't want to be wasting food out there. So take the foods that you want. You can go back into the line and gather stuff if you don't get what you need the first time around. Sandwiches, they're going to be different wraps or different things that are put together, typically just one of those items with your rider number, but many of the other things like fruit or cookies, you can take what you need to get you down the route. And I do like to talk about the fact that there are people in here that you don't know. Someone's from, far away Florida, someone's from Canada. There's always someone from Canada in here. Get to know people, just talk to people that are also sharing this experience with you. This is statistics from past STP itself. It's just kind of fun to know, and this information is on the website itself. We talked a little bit about hydration replenishment but just know that there's water all along at the food stops themselves, but also at the businesses. So if you are stopping at a mini stop or one of these little markets such as this, and they're providing water, in this case, a cooling mist, thank the businesses. You know, if you want that Snickers bar, if you want that soft drink, go in and drop some money with them. They are there to support us as well. They appreciate us coming through.
And obviously the last 2 years have been a little different, but everyone on the course expects us to come. They know we're coming. We've let them know with lots of advance warning, and they're excited for all these riders. So they are ready with food, water, lots of fun stuff for you. So take advantage of the day. It will be a lot of fun to engage with the towns and people that you get to ride through.
This slide I will definitely put off to STP 201. It is riding with other people, drafting and pace lines. And if you're not familiar, drafting is where you're riding behind someone, and it actually saves you energy, about 2/3 energy, depending on how close you are and how fast you guys are going. But there's definitely etiquette to it. And if you haven't done it before, don't make STP the first time you do it. You can see the hazards it can create, and but you can practice these things again by going on a Cascade group ride. But again, just know that you do not need to do drafting to complete STP. So don't let that concern you if you don't have a chance to practice.
We'll go over this again more in 201, but if you are comfortable with drafting, make sure the people that you are drafting with are also comfortable with that. Ask before you jump on someone's wheel.
Yep, that etiquette is just like the group dynamics where we're communicating with each other. Railroad tracks. There are going to be a few of significance on the ride itself. Volunteers will be out there. We'll be throwing mats down there and having you slow down. And you want to cross, of course, as close to 90 degrees as possible. There'll be volunteers out there that weekend, but not during your training rides over the next few months. So just know that right now. Cross as close to 90 degrees as possible. Otherwise, you risk your wheel getting knocked around going through that crossing. And people do get injured. And I'll just go ahead and throw in here, not necessarily funny, but as this volunteer is doing this, there's going to be some hot shot who wants to go around everybody. And we have seen those hot shots actually go down while everyone is trying to navigate this safely. So don't be that person that everyone points their finger at. And here we are entering Centralia, the home of the official Midpoint. This picture here shows the official marathon photographers that are along many parts of the ride itself. So we talked about at the very beginning, having your ride number in front here and on your helmet. The reason being is they're taking photographs as you come through. They will match these numbers up to your registration email and sending you proofs just a few days after the event itself. And the thing is, you know, you might think, I don't need professional photographers taking pictures, but when you see those dozen or more pictures that come through and you say, hey, I didn't notice that red barn behind me before, and they're pretty cool pictures. And you can end up downloading all their photos for a fee, and then they're yours electronically and you can share them with friends. So something you may not have considered early on, but I think you'll appreciate. Also, this neighbor right before the Midpoint has this nice misting machine that people ride through. So just know as you approach Centralia in particular, I know that there are families and kids who have, you know, sprinklers that they put out there, particularly on sunny days itself. And here we are going through the official Midpoint, Centralia College. People are already setting up campsites here and people still riding through. Take a look at the clock. It's 5:45 here. So people have gotten here way early and set up tents, and there are people who are moving on further south. There are people who are riding up different paces. You still have a couple of hours of usable daylight here. So again, if you're planning on where you're overnighting, just know that it's not that you have to be somewhere by 6 or 7 o'clock. You do have, you know, usable daylight, and people are you know, of all abilities and different paces out there. What else should I say about the midpoint here is, I think the next slide, actually, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but there's plenty of space in that campus there. So whereas we looked at the square where there's a lot of tents, there's places on the other side of the buildings that you can pitch tents. So you're not necessarily needing to be in a crowded area, but you can definitely get to a location where it's a little more isolated and maybe quieter itself. The midpoint locations, as we mentioned, you have not registered for it when you register for the ride, so you need to follow up on this. Centralia College Housing, working with the Chamber of Commerce here, a couple of schools, and then the churches themselves. So on the website, you'll find out, do you want to stay in a indoor gym? Do you want to stay in a church location where they have different separate rooms for people? There's not really any private rooms, but there's usually group rooms. And if you have a group, you can usually contact these locations and say, hey, can I have kind of a room for my group of whatever, 8 or 10 people, and they may be able to accommodate you. So there's contact information here. This year, there's no housing, the private housing due to protocol itself. But know that the most importantly, what still exists are the free tent camping locations at Centralia College in Chehalis. Unlimited amount of grass area that you can camp, so it doesn't fill up, and it's free. And so if you are a procrastinator and on that Saturday morning at the start line and you haven't figured out where you're going to overnight, just throw your tent and sleeping bag into the Centralia or Chehalis truck, and you'll have overnight accommodations available. Anything else on that, Rishan? I know a lot of questions about camping.
No, well, know that if you're staying indoors at one of the churches, schools, what have you, you don't need a full tent. A sleeping pad and a sleeping bag are wonderful. You can throw those in your bag. If you are doing the free camping outside, tents are really lovely. And you can, if you don't own all this gear, don't worry about it. There are lots of places that will rent it for small fees. REI being a very popular and good one for a lot of different camping gear. But you don't need everything, remember. Depending on where you are camping, you won't necessarily need to bring a giant stove and different things like that. So if you don't know where you are staying or you're still contemplating, don't worry. There are lots of different options. And we will be going into a little bit more detail in 201 about what the different places look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them have showers. Some of them will not. The schools obviously have showers, and the colleges have showers, but they're not free. So a few bucks, like at Chehalis City Park, you're actually using the aquatic center, the swimming pool area for their showers, and I've done that, and it's a couple bucks. In fact, this is the Chehalis Park right here. So if you want to go a few extra miles from the official midpoint at Centralia, you'll come to a nice park here, baseball fields, and again, just lots of area that you can pitch your tent. So you can either be around other people and have a nice chat, or you can be a little bit further out, but you'll still have the same amenities as everyone else. Now, there has been question in the past about charging stations. Electrical. Well, if you're just talking about for your phones and such, well, just know that there's very few outlets, and around Centralia College, there's some hallways that people I know go to and do a quick charge there. But then you're kind of tethered to that location itself. But don't expect that you have access to it. So bring portable charging units with you. If you're talking about e-bikes themselves, that's even more challenging. So there are some campsites that are separate from this, the RV type of camp locations, that if you end up with one of those, you can certainly plan for it so that you can have private charging. But otherwise, do not expect necessarily to be able to charge at these locations for electric bike batteries.
And we will include a list of links of resources and different things that we've talked about with this video, but one of them is a blog post of two of the Cascade board members who have done STP on e-bikes. So they have some suggestions of how to charge, where to charge, and how you can basically ride STP on an e-bike efficiently and with a lot of fun. So
Awesome. That's great. At most of these overnight locations, there's bike corrals and security. In some of them, you're paying a little extra fee just for the charitable organization to help watch it. But in most cases, there is some place that you can put your bike. And if you're just camping, of course, and you have a lock that you put in your luggage, then you can just kind of lock it right outside your tent itself. And speaking of luggage, this is where you want to carry your heavy lock. You don't need to carry your heavy lock with you when you ride. We'll talk a little bit more on 201, what and how to pack, because there are checklists out there. But the simple thing is, note that when you get to the baggage drop locations, the bags will be either in some locations like schools, they'll be indoors, but at the parks, they'll be out like this. So you want to waterproof your contents. And that is as simple as packing your things into, a giant hefty trash bag and then sticking that in your luggage. And that way, if your luggage gets wet, your contents remain dry. Also, look at this. It's kind of like a airport luggage carousel where people can touch your bags. So valuables, keep them with you on the ride.
To that point, your bike obviously is a very big valuable, and you're more than welcome to bring locks. If you do not want to, don't feel the need. Most people don't bring locks because your bike will either be on you, next to you, or sorry, you'll be on the bike, it'll be next to you, or it'll be in one of our corrals where you have to show your bib to match up to the bike number.
Mm-hmm. And as far as Midpoint lodging, just also know that some of them come with community spaghetti or breakfast feeds. Again, that's listed on the information itself, usually an extra charge, or it's included at some of the locations. And again, it just kind of looks like this, and it's all for a good cause. There's also training information on the website itself. These are training charts. This is a STP 201 discussion, but I just want to make sure that it's there. And in fact, this year, this is available in a exportable or importable spreadsheet that you can actually put your information on. I am not going to talk much more on that at this time. Sunday morning. So Saturday, there was an official start line and everyone left within a 2.5 hour period. Sunday morning, there's no official start line. People get up and you start hearing tents coming down, you hear sleeping bags being rolled up and people start heading out. If you used one of the baggage trucks here, which most of you will, you just bring your luggage back to that location by the designated time and it gets up into the truck. This is a gymnasium that when I looked at the timestamp on this photo, it was 6:30 a.m. So you can see 6:30, people are cleared out. They're having breakfast and they're gone. That just kind of gives you an idea.
Baggage trucks on Sunday morning, generally speaking, are open for you to drop your bags back on them between 5 or 6 a.m. and then they usually pack up and are on the road at 8.
Mm-hmm. So sunny day, don't miss the sights. The route leads us to different things and great photograph opportunities. Also lemonade stands along the way. So we talked about food stops, mini stops. If you ride the event enough times, you start seeing some of the kids with lemonade stands start to grow up, and that's fun. Usually college fundraisers, and so they end up heading out. Also on the road will be about a dozen cars emblazoned with STP logos. They are your support cars. They are in communication with each other and with a command center. There's actually a command center. They have bike racks to bring your disabled bike to the next mechanic, They'll bring you to the next mini stop for a first aid if necessary. They're there to attend to incidences along the way. What they aren't is they are not taxis to take you to your destination. If you are unable to get to your location, they'll get you to the next safe location, mini stop, and then you want to arrange for how to get to your ultimate destination itself. These guys are also in communication with mechanics and the Goldwing Touring Association. The Honda Goldwings here, there's going to be about 200 volunteers, over 80 motorcycles. There's more motorcycles than cars, so you're going to see them more often than you'll see the cars. And they have little loops. They'll go down and come back. And if you need their support, you just kind of signal them. Official signal is to go like this, but if you wave at them, they're going to slow down and see what your needs are. And you know what? Some of them are just looking for things to do. So if you have a flat tire, I'm sure one of those guys will be able to help you fix their flats as well. But they are in communication as well with the cars. And then there's going to be up to about 100 safety riders, EMTs, firefighters, physicians, nurses, even outriders I'll throw into that group itself, the Cascade outriders. Anyway, just know that they're out there on the route to help you. And the amazing thing is, you know, there's so few of those guys out there over the entire length of the ride, but it seems like when there's an incident, you'll see one of these guys roll up. So if you need help, again, just know that they're out there.
To add to that, if you didn't get this point away, we take our safety very seriously. There are portions of the course that don't have self-service, not many, but a few. That's part of the reason why we have the Goldwing riders. They operate on ham frequency, communicating with our command center. We have lots of first aid, EMS support, and lots of safety plans. So when it comes to safety, we take that very seriously and always have.
The first free food stop on Sunday morning will be the Lexington Stop. And I throw in Longview here because more people are familiar with Longview itself. Nice river, the river park there. Again, with the volunteers, a nice grassy area and shade itself. And after that, we are going to be heading south into Oregon across the Lewis and Clark Bridge. The thing I note here is, as I mentioned, this is Longview. And if you're used to driving up and down Interstate 5 to get to Portland, you say, don't we get into Oregon around Portland? Well, actually, if you look at your map at Longview, you can cross this bridge and you're in Oregon, and you have the last 50 miles of riding on the Oregon side itself. And to get you across safely, we take you on a side road here. I'm asking you and caravan you across. It's a safe way that we've developed with the Department of Transportation and with the Washington State Patrol and Oregon State Patrol cooperation itself. And when you cross the bridge itself, you can see the riders kind of spread out here, even though they go in a pack. Pretty much, again, as normal, the slower riders will find a couple of lines here, and then the faster riders will find their way around. And as you start crossing and heading down here, you're going to be picking up a lot of speed. And if you've heard in the past about the expansion joints to be concerned about, know that they've kind of fixed some of those expansion joints. But in general, you'll be spread apart by the time you get on the descent, and you'll be able to see where to ride across without your wheels being caught with an expansion joint itself. And here we are into Oregon. And we're going to be heading on Highway 30, as I mentioned, in the last 50 miles or so. And it turned in from a 2-laner there to a 4-laner there. But in all cases, it's a nice little shoulder. And here we are ending up towards the last food stop, the last free food stop at St. Helens. And when you get to the cities there, you'll be going through traffic lights itself. And here we are at your last food stop. Now, you're only 25 miles from the finish line here. And some of you might be thinking, I'm almost there. I'm going to pass this up. But you know what? This food stop wasn't always there. We actually put it in because That last 25 miles is where you start getting, in some cases, heat or headwinds and such. So go ahead and take a break. Take advantage of the fact that the food is there. Enjoy yourself in the misting machines itself. Get your bike looked at as well. And I want to put this slide here. This is from a past year. The St. Helens High School band is what, the volunteers are out there supporting you in that last free food stop. So thank them. Year round, there's going to be about 20 or 30 people in a committee, putting this event together. But on that weekend, there'll be 700 volunteers or so to get you from Seattle to Portland. It's a significant event, and it benefits the volunteers, but they're spending their whole day or weekend helping you out. This sign says it all. So there's volunteers out there, and then there's also individual personal support riders there. They do good things, obviously, for their fellow, for the riders that they're with. But the thing about personal support vehicles, we want to make sure that they are off the route for the significant part. And we do provide directions on how to get to the major food stops, such as the St. Helens food stop here, that you're not necessarily crossing the route itself. And so we want to minimize, again, the amount of cars, personal support vehicles that are riding along with the bikes themselves. There are ways to get to some of the food stops. Just know that what you've seen in the last hour is there's a lot of support that we put on, that Cascade puts on for this event, from the cars to the motorcycles to safety riders to all the stops themselves. Your riders can get there without the personal support vehicles, but we understand people want to share in the event. So I do want to salute them when they're like this, and they're cheerful and they're respectful of all the other riders out there.
Now I'm going to speak on that real quick as well, because I know that is one of the questions that we had. We'll put it perfectly. There's so much support that you have. If you think that you need additional support, or there are specific needs that you have that you're not sure if they'll be addressed, reach out to us first. My contact information's on our website. You can reach out to me and we can see about accommodating you. But if you do need a support vehicle, maybe you have special needs that you need someone's help along the way, there is a map and basically a separate driving route for your personal support vehicle, so that their car does not necessarily get onto the roads where the bikes are, creating a little bit of extra traffic or problems. So you have that ability to use a personal support vehicle, but for most people, you will not need one.
So as you leave St. Helens there, and you think you're almost in Portland, you're not quite there. But this is your landmark that you're looking for, the St. John's Bridge. So you're at this level, and know that you need to get to this level. So this is your last climb, and here you go, no problem, right? And as you go through, as you get over the St. John's Bridge, over Cathedral Park there, you're going to be riding through a neighborhood, a real nice neighborhood. It's a great way to kind of finish your weekend there. But also know that once you leave the neighborhood and start getting into the downtown Portland side of things, we're going to finish on this on the east side of I-5. You're going to start to encounter some arterials, some stop signs, some stop lights. So just know it's kind of stop and go this last section here. But because you came to this class, you know it, and so you're going to say, "Hey, I've heard about this before," so it's no big deal. And when you get to this location, the finish line here, again, this map is on the website. There's a picture of it. You're going to be getting into Holiday Park right here for the finish line. Host Hotel in this location, and the mall just to the left here. And here we are at the finish line chute to Holiday Park. So here's the chute that gets you into that park. And this chute itself is lined with a lot of people cheering you in. And I mentioned early on, there's people of all sorts that you're going to see at the start line, and you're going to see them at the finish line. People in full riding kits here, people in t-shirts and shorts and tennis shoes. more of a cruiser type bike, but she registered and she, committed herself to the ride, and she is having a great time, as are her fellow riders here, it looks like. So when you get through this finish line and enjoy the festivities that are at the finish line itself, make your way back to this chute and cheer on some of your fellow riders coming through. If you don't do that, you're missing out, because it's kind of a joyous feel. And as these riders come through, they will be handed their finisher patch. You can see these people have their patches here. Friends, some teams, or some just family with signs. There's often a sign making booth there. So if you're sending a family down there ahead of time, have them look for the sign making booth, and maybe they can cheer you in with that. And the DoubleTree Inn hotel, as I mentioned, is right next to the park itself. That's where your luggage is going to be. So you need your bib number to match the luggage that's there. The other thing to note here, probably move to this slide a little bit fast, but the amenities at the finish line itself, as I mentioned, food booths, there's a massage station, some people call it a recovery station, first aid information, etc. I mentioned the luggage. Rishan mentioned before, bike security along the route, pretty good. Things that you wouldn't necessarily have to be concerned about. However, at the finish line itself, there are many users of the park. So this is the one place where I say, get your bike into a secure location. And there is the bike corral itself. And if you're taking return transportation, the buses are actually on the other side of the DoubleTree. There'll be signage there. You can get your bike over to there, get your bike onto one of the trucks if you paid for the return transportation. And then you can go back and enjoy the finish line. The tip, or the handy tip there, is that the trucks actually take on a lot more bikes than the buses take on people. So the trucks will actually take longer to fill up. And so therefore, if you bring your bike at the same time you're hopping onto the bus, your bus is probably going to end up at the finish line well before your bike. So get your bike onto one of the early trucks. It'll get to the University of Washington, and there'll be volunteers that are watching the bike securely until your bus arrives. There's also lost and found that people have asked about. So anything that is remaining at any of the food stops or mini stops or at the finish line, they'll be brought back to the Cascade Bike Club offices for you to pick up later. In the past, there's been storage fees for bikes because they do take up some space. And we want to encourage people to come and grab their bikes. Yeah, I think that, and just know again, around the finish line itself, there are hotels. I just found something the other day, so just know that even though the hotels at the midway point are pretty much reserved out, there are hotels still available at the finish line area, plenty of them, and of course restaurants as well. And so this slide here, finishing with a smile like this, well, you're finishing with a smile because you came and you gathered information ahead of time. And there's lots of information on the Cascade website, and also available classes that will continue to be listed there. We're talking about these type of sessions, or also writing classes that you can take on. We mentioned registering early to commit yourself to the training. I think it makes a huge difference. Understand the training recommendations on the website, and then know that those are recommendations, and that there are plenty of people who are going to look at those charts and say, I'm nowhere near that, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do STP. But the more you train, the less likely you'll be to injure yourself, and again, just the more likely you'll be able to enjoy the ride and again, finish with a smile. Know your nutrition and hydration needs while you're training over the next few months, and ride with what works for you. Recognize your training pace. Get yourself a bike computer if you don't already have one. And that way, again, once you know what your average speed is, you can start doing all your planning for where you want to stay or when you want to leave. And then lastly, just having the right attitude from the beginning. We talked about it early on. It's not a race, it's a ride. If it's a race for you and that's going to make it fun for you, that's fine. But for most of us, it's just going to be a recreational ride with a lot of other people sharing the same goal of getting to Portland, and a major milestone for yourself. So fantastic. So that's getting you from the start line to the finish line. Hopefully we demystified STP, and I'm throwing it back to Rishan.
Thank you so much, Will. That was awesome. Will and I are going to go into a series of questions that we know have been already asked of us, and that we want to make sure we address. But before we continue, I really want to add to what Will just finished with, that this is a fun ride. We want to make sure that this is as welcoming and inclusive as possible. So if you have questions, if you have needs, please reach out. We want to make sure that anyone and everyone can do this and they have fun doing it. So my contact information is on the website. Please reach out to me or any of my colleagues in any way we can help. And then, Will, we can actually, if you have that document, we'll alternate questions. And I'm going to actually start us off with answering, what is the souvenir? So every year we have a little souvenir for finishers of the STP ride. This year it's going to be a cooler bag for a 6-pack. So stay tuned to social media. That we will release it when it comes out. But you also have the option of purchasing jerseys, t-shirts, hats. There's going to be quite a bit of other merchandise that, especially if this is your first STP, that you can make sure that you remember it with.
Why don't you keep going, Rishan, as I look for that document.
I was going to say, I'll take the first couple because they're a little bit more directed at me too. One of the questions that we've had from several different types of people is, what if I'm a single rider? How do I handle the ride? What if I'm looking for people to ride with and I'm not necessarily comfortable with, not knowing people? Or what if I'm looking to do the ride, but I'm looking to ride by myself, be a little bit more introverted and enjoy the time on my bike? All of this is okay, and all of it is accepted and welcomed here. If you're a single rider and you're looking to have a group to ride with, the first thing I'd recommend is our group rides, or looking into where you live, the area where you're at, and searching for group rides there. Riding with people is often the most fun and the easiest way to become more comfortable group riding or on feeling good on your bike. So if you can create a group before you actually get to the day of the ride, even better. If that's not a possibility for you, that's okay as well. Everyone is very friendly. Everyone is there for fun. Everyone is there to just ride their bike. So you will find like-paced people. You will find like-minded people that will enjoy spending time with you. And then we'll talk about this a little bit more in 201, but this is where also being mindful of where you actually end up camping is going to be really helpful. So we'll talk about it in 201, but some of the camping areas are a little bit more party atmosphere. Some of them are going to be a little quieter. So if you feel uncomfortable, please reach out, but there are ways to do this so that you have fun.
Are we on train tracks?
Pacing.
Pacing. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about pacing already. Again, having a bike computer and knowing what your average speed is. Also know that, when you're riding in a group, that whatever your training pace is, you're probably going to go a little bit faster on that. But using your pacing, know that, again, that it'll give you an idea of when you might want to leave the start line itself so that you get to the food stops at a decent time. Know that, again, that there is no too slow of a pace. People who ride 8 to 10 miles per hour are going to be out there on the route itself, and they're going to finish STP if they have the right attitude in the training. It's just that don't want to consider, I want to leave earlier in the start line period so that I have enough time to get to the various services, and the services will still be open. And again, if you are a fast rider and you think you're going to be passing a lot of people and you don't necessarily want congestion, don't start closer to 7:30, because then you're going to be riding past a lot of people. It might be something that you just decide, oh, I'll leave earlier in the ride itself.
And if you are worried about pacing and worried about maybe falling behind, please don't, because we're, on the ride day, if you need a little extra help catching up, we do have those support vans, support cars that can push you up to the next stop, get you a little bit of extra space so that you can feel good on your bike.
And then I'll continue on to this question is, what is a benchmark for knowing if you're able to complete STP? It does kind of come up, especially when people look at the training chart and they say, oh, I'm nowhere near that. One of the things that has been over the years used as a benchmark is the Cascade event, Flying Wheels, and it takes place a month before STP, kind of appropriately. And what I have heard, again, from one-day riders, if you do the complete century, the 100-mile, because it's such a hilly ride, and you feel strong after that, then you are on track for your one-day STP. And if you're a two-day rider, by doing the 70-mile route and you feel pretty good, then you're kind of on track for the two-day STP. The thing about two-day riders, and especially after something like a Flying Wheels, is get out the very next day or the day before and do a shorter ride so that you're used to doing back-to-back days. Where you contact the bike, your hands, your feet, and then again the saddle. The saddle part of it is going to be very noticeable on Sunday on STP. And the more you do back-to-back rides itself, the easier that'll become. And as far as the one-day ride, I've only done it once, and we did something like a 115-mile ride. And again, we felt strong. And as far as training goes, the charts will ask you to do something more than that, but we felt pretty good about it. So again, it's knowing yourself and knowing your riding partners and understanding what that chart means and what it and how you can use it. I'll leave it at that.
We have a question about if there are going to be any extra COVID protocols that we're going to be taking. So there are certain things that we're doing. One of them being homestays have been canceled for this year. But this is an outdoor ride. You are going to be spending majority of your time outdoors. So we will not be requiring masks or vaccine mandates. We are doing our best at the stops and everything to keep spaced. But if you feel comfortable wearing a mask and want to do that, you're more than welcome to. But remember, this is going to be outdoors, so a lot of fresh air, a lot of breeze blowing through. So another question that we had, Will, is what if I'm still riding after things close down on Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, this is actually more often talked about from a finish line standpoint, but last time someone mentioned about getting to the midpoint, and very good. We have the open hours for the services that we can list there for the the mini stops and food stops, and that's because the volunteers start closing those things down. However, we do not shut down completely. In fact, the support cars in particular probably have no shutdown time. They are out there with the last rider out there, and we kind of track them. So coming into the finish line, particularly one-day riders have this concern. They'll be coming in the dark, which is why they should be carrying headlights and flashing rear lights. But the support cars will know where they are. They'll probably pull up next to one of them and say, hey, the finish line has closed, but you're free to continue riding, or we can bring you in. And they will ask nicely. And typically, of course, the riders want to continue on, having trained for months for this. And the cars will continue to track them until they cross the finish line. So whereas the services will be down, there'll still be volunteers there handing out your finishing patches, but you just won't have the food booths itself. And so again, similarly with the Midpoint Saturday night, we'll make sure that the last rider is safely off the route before that car goes off the route itself.
So we had a question about what types of buses are used for return for transportation, so I'm going to speak on that. The buses are going to be more similar to a Greyhound bus than they are a school bus. And we have, if you're wondering, well, what about these buses? What are we talking about? There's a lot of transportation. If you live in Portland and are trying to do STP, we have a bus that goes from Portland to Seattle the night before or the day before the ride, and we have housing that you can stay at as well as parking or for your bike and or your car. We've got buses that come back from Portland to Seattle after the ride. And again, the baggage trucks and the bike trucks. So obviously sign up for STP, but know that you may need to think about and what you want your logistics of getting to and from the ride and getting your gear to and from the ride look like, because you have many options. Check out the Cascade website. Almost all the information is there, and you can get a good idea of what your different options are. Another question we had is about the baggage drop in Chehalis. Is there only one truck? How do I know which one is mine? Will, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I think the question may also be around, I'm not staying at the stop itself, the park itself. I'm staying at a hotel, perhaps. So therefore, you want to look at the address. If we put the address of where the baggage drop is, and you also want to look at where you need to get to, and that's one of the things I talked about earlier on is making sure you have the appropriate type of baggage. I've seen people put duffel bags, across their handlebars. Not necessarily the safest, but I also recommend those who don't already have luggage, if they want one, is to go out and buy something like a travel bag where you've got backpack straps and you can carry it on your back. And that way you can get it to your hotel or wherever you're staying. So as far as Chehalis, yes, it's one stop. All the stops are listed on the website itself. And again, that's just a central location where you're going to need to bring your luggage back also the next morning to get on the truck.
This is another question that we received, but if you want to do some extra riding out and want to figure out how to ride to the start line, that is an option for you. If you're coming from the east side, the 520 Bridge Trail is wonderful. It'll dump you out pretty close to the start line. The only suggestion I'd have is come early, because you don't want to be trying to bike to the start line when a lot of people are biking away from the start line. So keep that in mind if you are planning on biking to the start line, and you can absolutely do that.
And the complete, I guess the counterpart to that as well is those who are not going to the start line, but joining the ride at another location on the route. For example, if you are in Bellevue and you want to ride on the east side of Lake Washington and connect down on Rainier Avenue, that is why we have the Friday option at the start line for you to drop your luggage off. And so you can drop your luggage off, it'll get on the trucks, and you can start the ride from where you are. And I simply say that if this is the first time that you're riding STP, though, you want to be at the start line, because the start line itself is like it's festive. It's one of the things that you'll remember about the ride itself. But no, there are other options.
And that is all the questions that we have. We will be holding STP 201. If you're watching this video before the date, it'll be on March 30th at 6 p.m. There should be a list of links that you can sign up for that seminar as well. So we're going to finish up real quick. So the last things is what now? If you haven't, register for STP. We'll mention it will sell out. So make sure that you get your spot, and then it'll give you that mental commitment to keep riding. If you don't have a bike yet, get a bike. Reach out to us if you need a little help, but there are lots of bike shops that we trust and love. They have all different types of bikes. As Will showed you, whatever bike you have, as long as it's got two wheels, gears, and brakes, is going to work well. And even those rules are a little flexible. If you already have a bike, get it looked at in a mechanic or start learning to take care of it yourself. You're going to be riding your bike a lot to train for the big ride. And so it's good to make sure that it's in safe condition and that it'll take care of you efficiently as well. Find group rides that work for you. Whether you're searching online for group rides or you're looking at the Cascade Cycling Club group rides, there are tons out there for you, and I highly recommend them. If not for the fun or the training, but it's a great way to learn and just connect with your community. Sign up for the Flying Wheels ride. The Flying Wheels ride is a great test of your ability building up to the STP, and it again also has that great community feel. That's going to be in June. You can also find that on Cascade's website. STP 201, like I said, is going to be on March 30th at 6 p.m. And the last thing you can do is ride your bike. That's why we're all here. It's why you spent this time watching us speak. It's because bikes are fun and we want to ride them. So get out there and enjoy. And from me and Will, thank you so much for listening to us. And thank you for being a part of Cascade Bison Club's STP.